I mean, really since I was very young, I've always gravitated toward being an artist, and I really don't have the language or the, in terms of devoting myself politically, I could never really do that. But humanistically, since I was a child, I think when I was a very small child and saw that America dropped the bomb on Japan, on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, I was just little. I was born after World War II. And when I learned about that, I was horrified that governments could make this decision and do this, without consulting the people, because it wasn't an act of war, it was really an act of vengeance and experimentation. And as I got older, during the civil rights movement, I was a teenager, and when I never understood why we were having difficulty over people's color. It seems so, archaic. So, and really all of my responses are just simple humanistic responses. I was brought up in a very open-minded household, and to really understand all kinds of, as long as people were good, to understand whatever their persuasion. My parents had no prejudices, so I felt, I didn't know what to do except feel. But then when people started marching against the Vietnam War, then I saw activism at work. And I guess that's when I first became acquainted with mass activism and how young people could make change, because the huge concentration of young people that marched against the war really did help stop the war. So it was probably during Vietnam. And I really never expected my country to go to do anything like that again. And to see us, the way we involved ourselves in the Middle East and then going into Iraq, of course, in this century, it's just terrible for me. And again, these things just, drive me to speak out. It's never a sense of really politics. It's just simple common sense. When you see something wrong, whether it's a small thing, whether you see a larger kid bullying a small child, it's that simple. It's just wrong. I have found I did a concert in May in Mexico City, and I spent a lot of time in Mexico when I was quite young. I traveled through Mexico by myself when I was young. And whether in 1970, 71, for months, all by myself. And how did I get through Mexico all by myself as a young girl, not speaking Spanish, hardly having any money, with no real sense of danger? It was the women. I would find women on a road who would they're making food. They would give me some food. They would leave their children with me. They didn't even, because they needed to go and help another child, like a lost sheep. They would be going for a lost child, and I'd be sitting with all their other children. And I had many adventures and was fed, sheltered, given mosquito netting by women who I couldn't even speak to because I knew 5 words. We didn't have to speak. It was, just an innate sense of humanity. And when I just did my concert in Mexico City, it was a magnificent concert, and the people were so great. But again, I met so many interesting people, just the women. And then whether it was at the Frida Kahlo Museum or the Diego Rivera Museum, or galleries, or people working within the government, or working in grassroots situation. It was the energy of the women in Mexico is incredible. The strife that they have, the crimes against them, their beauty. The women are, you know, how hardworking they are, you know, how industrious, how much, you know, they are able to shoulder. They're, you know, like my mother. I think my mother must have had some, she must be, have some of this blood. Maybe my mother's Native American blood, somehow it merges, but I have found the women are incredible, and you know, it makes sense. You know, when I was invited suddenly to come here, I thought, again, you know, it's the women taking charge, saying, okay, we have to, if other people are not going to do this, if our government, you know, if institutions are not going to take care of certain things, we have to join together and see how we can grow, radiate. And I think it's, you know, I felt very humbled to be invited. I don't know why they chose me, but I'm really glad.